Greetings all, Ferrari Man 601 here. Welcome back to Flight Simulator 2020. And yeah, this is the PMDG DC-6. I've flown this airplane a little while, so I've got some clue of what it does, but very much trying to investigate what it can really do and how do we really use this thing, because they have modeled effectively every system there is to model. And, well, I never read instructions. So, yeah, that's where we are, trying to figure this thing out. We are on the ground at Republic Farmingdale on Long Island in New York. And that is an F-15 sitting there. That's two F-15s sitting there. One is levitating. Government probably doesn't want us to know about that technology. That's new. Is this having something to do with the DLC that we're getting later this year? I'm going to say probably yes. But anyway, yeah, the DC-6. As you can see just from the outside, this thing is an incredibly detailed aircraft. The model is brilliant, and of course they have absolutely gone to town on all of the features with the systems and subsystems and everything else you can imagine. So there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to take into account when you're trying to fly this thing as well. The cockpit is just a menagerie of switches and instruments and everything you can imagine. And there's also an iPad there, which actually is pretty useful when it comes to interfacing with the different accessories and stuff you've got. This is how you take care of all of your doors and all the other stuff that you can see outside. What we're going to do is close doors and stuff for the moment. You'll actually see all of that happening if we go outside. So there you go. So you can see the cargo doors are closing up. So that's pretty wild. That's something that is, for the most part, automated in a lot of the stock airplanes, particularly the airliners. When you pull up to a gate and then you request baggage service or catering, you'll see doors open up then. But here you have more control over all of those things, which I do believe is a nice touch. And of course the hydraulic system there, which is probably running off of ground power at the moment. Yeah, closing the doors pretty gradually there, but they'll all come up and they'll line up flush. You'll see the nice tolerances that they've built into this model. There you go, and the latches articulate. Very nice, I like all of that. Obviously, on the starboard side, we have got our main entrance with the stairs that come down. Very, very, very cool stuff. Of course, we'll be able to stow the stairs. You hear the sound effects associated with that. Nice, and they stow, and then if we want to close that door, see that happening, and then the latch will go to closed on the outside and the inside. Very nice. All that is well and good. However, I'm going to get rid of a lot of the ground support equipment for the moment. See, it's all gone except for the GPU. And now it's on us to get some power up in this airplane and then to figure out engines. So the engine start is pretty simple, but it's not at all straightforward in terms of what you got to do and when you got to do it. Reset our position here, and for some reason we have no ability to zoom anymore. That's fun, unless I accidentally clicked something. Yep, there we go. Right, so we need some power. So, let's see. That's ground power, the bus is up. Right. So the cockpit comes to life with all of our warning lights and all this stuff. And then for engines, we're going to start all four. However, from this angle, it's just easier to get all your mixtures up right away, not following any particular checklist, just doing what I know starts the engines. And one thing I did learn about this airplane is that your inboard engines, engine 2 and 3, run the hydraulic system. Either one will run the hydraulics, but you're going to want to start one of those inboard engines first. Everybody seems to want to start engine 3 first, so we'll start engine 3 first. You need to have a boost pump on before you start an engine, but in order to do that, you've got to have fuel tanks selected first. So we've got fuel tanks selected. Our mixtures are up to the auto-rich position on all 4. And we'll get our magnetos up to both. Engine selector is 3. We'll get a start.
3, 6.
First officer will count 12 blades as the engines spin over.
12.
And then we should get a start. I didn't turn on a boost pump, did I? No. So fuel will go into the engine, but not high enough pressure.
3, 6, 9, 12.
There we go. We got a light off. Right. And then, of course, your RPM is what it is. You can see some vibrations coming through the instrument panel now as that engine's ticking over. That is pretty cool. And, of course, as you get more engines up, you're going to get more vibrations, which is always a very nice touch. We're still on ground power. I want to go back up to the plane's battery. Right. So now we're running off internal. Get rid of the GPU outside. Turn off the boost pump now on engine 3 as it's sucking fuel itself. We'll select engine 2, and then it's the same deal. We got the magnetos up to both. Mixture is into the auto-rich position. Got our fuel pump. Let's count blades.
3, 6, 9, 12.
12 blades. And there we go. Right, so we have both inboard engines up now. Hydraulic system bypass, 2 bypass. We'll check that we have hydraulic pressure. For some reason we do not. Yeah, I'm just checking the flaps there by moving the handle and it's not doing anything. Have to see why that is in a moment. Two and 3 generator control. Get inverters up. Turn off our engine 2 boost pump. Get engine 4 up. There goes engine 4. And we'll do engine 1. And engine 1. So all 4 engines are up. Temperatures are coming up on all 4. Get generators now on for engines 1 and 4. Go engine selector switch to off. Turn off the boost pump on engine 1.
Republic ground FMA and 601 heavy with Kilo request taxi for takeoff north departure.
I did not mean to tell the ATC anything there, but whatever. Okay, we got hydraulic pressure now. Okay, and we're apparently we got ourselves taxi clearance already. So I didn't mean to do that, but we got it. So that's fine. This is going to be coming in later for our gyro pilot. Don't call it autopilot, but that'll be how we're going to be navigating. And you can see we have got a bug there for our waypoint to the active runway. Yep, taxi clearance.
Taxiing hold short runway when using taxiway Bravo 4 FMA and 601 heavy.
What's the situation look like behind us? Because I'm not entirely convinced that I can turn the airplane away from that building. Somewhat clear behind. You know what? We can make that turn. We can just pull straight forward. That'll be okay. And now, of course, you get this tremendous radial symphony of all 4 engines burning. Okay, next, though, I think we need to get power on. Right. Okay. That's fine. Got some landing lights on. Some position lights. Beacon on. Who cares about smoking and seatbelts? Well, heat de-icers will be on. And the heaters are coming up. Just some icing protection. I don't think we're really going to get high enough to worry about that, but we might, so who knows. Okay. Last thing we got to do is take out our gust lock. So now we have full range of throttle for all 4 engines, as well as full flight control availability. So parking brake out. Crack some throttle. Low oil pressure lights extinguish. We give it some nose wheel steering. Telling me to hold position, okay.
Hold position FMA and 601 heavy.
You're really just having a bug moment, I think, ATC. Okay.
Roger FMA and
to make sure I can hear the ATC when they're calling me. Anyway. Let me hold position again, whatever. Right, we've done it.
Hold position FMA and 601 heavy.
See, they're not expecting me to be here because they wanted me to get a pushback, I would think. So they're trying to figure out, hey, he didn't do what the zeros and ones in the system demanded that he do. I just want to get to the active and get off the ground here. Come on. Oh. There's also a vehicle on the runway. All right, I'm just going to request takeoff clearance.
Republic Tower FMA and 601 heavy at runway 1 ready for departure, north departure.
Is that going to be runway 1? All right, clear me for takeoff from runway 1.
Takeoff runway 1 FMA and 601 heavy.
We'll see if we're going to line up on runway 1 or not. I think we are. I just can't see the runway marking to be absolutely sure, but the heading should match up. Yep, we're good. Okay, so what I've learned so far about flying this airplane is that it does not generally require flaps for takeoff unless you've got some serious prevailing winds, which we don't particularly at the moment. So if you don't particularly mind, I don't particularly mind. I'm not going to use flaps for takeoff. I am going to set a parking brake here and do one last thing so our flaps are up as we want. However, we're supercharged. We'll turn on all 4 superchargers. Revs will come up, manifold pressure will come up a bit. So now we can get these engines to make maximum power to get us off the ground. And the reason why we got the parking brake set is if we turn it off, the engines will actually start to power us down the runway at idle thrust. So parking brakes are out. And I'll say we're good. All right, let's do it. Airspeed's alive. There's 40. That's about 60. There's 80 knots. 90, let's rotate. And we're up. Did a crosswind immediately off the deck. Bring the landing gear in.
Republic Tower FMA and 601 heavy continue for north departure.
Ultimately, what we want to do is head south. Bearing 229, where we want to be. Yeah, our ATC volume is way low, but whatever.
Republic Tower FMA and 601 heavy frequency change.
All right. Because I can barely hear them, I don't really want to deal with ATC. All right, we're up at about 4,000 and continuing to ascend. Indicated airspeed around 170 or so. You can see this airplane does have a lot of power, I'll give it that. Punching through the cloud deck like it doesn't care. It's 5,000. Alright, we're more or less to our heading that we want. We can refine this later. But what I want to do is try out the gyro pilot and see if we can make this do what we think it can do. So what I really need to get our ascent rate close to 0 as we can. Let's see if it'll just maintain that altitude. To be around 7,000 feet. Pull it back and see if we can climb. Don't really think it is. All right. Let's see, can we turn? Yeah, we can turn. Okay. That's pretty cool. So it's not really an autopilot in that I can't dial in a specific heading, but I can get some pretty decent control with this. And what it's doing is it's using a system from the airplane's onboard gyros and a clutch to exert force physically through the control system. wish there were a way to know. All right, so that's your control this your return to center knob. Okay. So that's cool. So it'll maintain about 6,900 feet, or about 7,900 feet, really. What actually should our altimeter be set at? Okay. Gonna turn off the superchargers. Very cool. Speed is around 250 knots. We can be free to go outside and take a look. Well, that is pretty unique. I like this an awful lot. Very, very nice. Look on look at a map and see where we're going. Yep, that's Long Island, New York. Before too long, we're going to come over the coast of Sandy Hook, New Jersey. A little bit of a course correction. Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm liking this. Initially, when I first jumped into this airplane, I was a bit overwhelmed, just not with what the systems are, but just the locations of everything. Where is stuff? But you start to learn where stuff is, and once you interface with it for a couple of hours, you start to become somewhat familiar, and things begin to make sense. Shut down the cowl flaps is what we just did there. And you can see the cowl flaps are now pretty much closed up. No flames out the engine exhausts, but it's cool. Once the flight simulator team allow for some more particle effects like exhaust smoke and things, this plane will really be cool. I do want to know why our climb wheel is not really doing anything. So let's say I want to climb more. And that's a pretty significant climb, but all right. Apparently when you disengage the gyro pilot, you have a bit of a moment where the trim is not quite caught up with you. Okay. Just want to keep the wings fairly level. Get it up to 10,000 feet. Alright, so there's about 10,000. Right. And right there is Sandy Hook. What I want to do at this point, and then a big old left turn, I want to head down the coast. That is really fantastic. Liking that a lot. Loving all the details here, the fuselage skin. You can see the undulations in the panels with the muted reflections. Very, very nice indeed. Top of the wing skin there, you can see where the airplane has got 70 plus years of experience. Very nice. And we're just flying pretty much straight down the coast as we want. Very cool. Know that place right below us there, where I went to school from 10,000 feet. Interesting. You know, technology has made it made some pretty interesting levels of progress when you can recognize places you know in real life from 10,000 feet in a simulator. Pretty cool. Now, how are those engines doing in terms of their temperatures? Cylinder head temperatures are all right. Oil temp is good. Oil press is good on all four. Fuel press is fine. Carburetor air is good. Water pressure. Thinking, I know there's a water injection system. I don't know if it's for cooling or if it's for lubrication for something or what. But I do know that water pressure is important on these engines. Probably getting cold in the cabin at this point. Get the cabin heater on. I assume that's also useful for de-icing. Yeah, I'm not quite sure about the water system for the engines, but it does something. Probably does something really important too, but I don't know. Continuing to fly down the coast, we've got a thicker cloud deck as we head farther south. Pretty cool. Here's where you start to see the importance of, back in the day, visual references, as well as charts, as well as just a fair bit of pilot experience. Nowadays, with GPS to tell you everything about where you are at any time, some of those navigational skills, I think, perhaps have fallen by the wayside. Of course, I can't speak with any authority on this because I am not a pilot, probably never will be, but I would assume in these days your familiarity with the terrain was very important. Way more important than it ever could be now. She's just doing her thing and not complaining much. Look at a map just south of Farmingdale, New Jersey now. Bit of a course correction. Alright, pretty much where we need to be. Very, very nice. How's our fuel system looking? Good. No complaints there. Cool reflections there on the underside of the aircraft. cool, cool. A little more cloud cover than I was thinking, but it's pretty high ceiling, so that's no issue. Look at our map. Starting to get in pretty close to where we want to be. So I think it would probably serve us well to think about a descent. We'll start a descent. Headed into the cloud deck. And I am finding in this airplane that your speed management really is just a function of engine power. There are no spoilers on the airplane. It does have flaps, but they're really only useful at very low speeds. We took off with no flaps with no problems at all. Let's see if we can get Atlantic City. Yes, we got it. Let's ask him for a landing.
Atlantic City Tower at MAN 601 Heavy is 16 miles northeast, 8,500 feet with whiskey to land.
Left traffic, runway 13. All right.
Fly left traffic runway 13 at MAN 601 Heavy.
All right. So at this point, what I want to do, I want to get back into an altitude hold situation. Around 5,000 or so. And we're going to do a big turn to the right. Fly a little bit more inland and we'll intercept runway 13. We'll open up cowl flaps for some better cooling as we start to slow down and generate some heat. And you can see the cowl flaps are open again. Very nice. Can we see the airport yet? Gonna be off to our 9 o'clock area. So not quite yet. There it is. Okay, so we want to get some major descent rate coming in. $4,000. Okay. So that'll be good. Gyro pilot is off entirely. Already disconnected. Now it's a question of turning the line up and land. We got the runway in sight. We are clear to land runway 13.
Clear to land runway 13 FMA and 601 heavy.
Right. Now we'll start to bring some flap in. Flaps to 15. Gear coming. We'll wait for 3 greens there on the co-pilot side. Right side is down. Center and left. All right. Bringing the flaps 20. Got a lot of frame drops here. Always happens at low altitude for some reason. We're a bit high. We've remedied us being a bit high. Settle it in. Touchdown. All right. That's all pretty cool. Got our wheel brakes in. The props do reverse, but I don't want to bother with that at the moment. Let's see, I am able to exit the runway. Don't want me to turn off ahead, so we'll turn off ahead.
FNA and 601 heavy.
Right, so they're not telling me, well, I'm not going to ask them to tell me where to go because it always messes us up. So they're already telling me a box to go into, so we're going to go into that box. The flaps in. Oil pressure warning light on the engines, that's normal at idle speeds. You know there's a truck in the way. They always have a tendency to stop on the taxiways, right in the middle of everything. I don't care. I can't hit them. cool. And we got another DC-6 sitting there. They're giving us a gate. How about that? Very nice of them. Let's confirm where we are. Whatever. The progressive taxi guidance lately has been all sorts of screwy. But we're here, and that's all that matters. I'm going to shut down all 4 engines. Right, so the engines are off. Get a jetway connection. Will it actually do it?
Could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
Wouldn't think so, because we don't have a door on that side. Nope. Okay. Just wanted to see if they were going to be breaking physics or something. But that's fine. We have our own stairs, so that is totally fine. Cool. Okay, rest of the power down is going to be generators, inverters. Not that they're doing anything right now anyway. We're on ground power. Hydraulics are stopped. Okay. Well, what have we managed to do? We've managed to do a little bit of a shakedown cruise in the DC-6. I managed to learn how the gyro pilot works. I hadn't managed to get that working before. It's a pretty intuitive system. You just have to know where you are, because it won't. Well, it will follow a VOR. It'll follow a GPS trace. I just didn't configure it to do that, but I don't know. It'll just hold headings, basically. It'll hold headings. It'll hold altitudes. You have to tell it when to stop banking. So in other words, it won't actually hold a heading. It'll just hold wings level. So you've got to watch your instruments to make sure you know which way you're pointing. But it's actually a pretty cool system. I like that a lot, and it acts directly on the flight controls. So, but you can actually see it work. You see deflection in the control surfaces when it's doing its thing, and you'll see the flight controls actually deflect. Like, I mean, if you're telling it to bank, obviously you saw the yokes going left and right when we're banking. So I like that an awful lot. It's just a very direct sort of thing. It's very, very cool, and yeah, that's what the seems to be what the DC-6 does. Like it an awful, awful lot. Very cool. The heater's off. That's a big current draw. Nice. Very, very nice. But yeah, and long and short, in this coming up on 63-minute video, yeah, it's the DC-6. It's a really cool plane. Yeah, PMDG do some of the best work for Flight Simulator. They have done some of the best work for Flight Simulator for a long time, and yep, this is no exception. Absolutely classic airplane. It's a 4-engine radial prop, and it doesn't get too much more classic than that. It's big power, it's supercharged. You can turn the superchargers on and off too, which is a very nice idea. You get more power on takeoff and for a hard climb if you want. At high altitude, the superchargers really come into their own, I'd imagine, as well. But at around 10, 5, 11,000 feet where we were today, not so much of a deal. But yeah, that's the DC-6. It's a fantastic airplane. I think everybody's going to have a lot of fun with this. And yeah, so far I am quite pleased with what I see. Until next time, though, I do hope that this was somewhat entertaining. Probably wasn't, but whatever. Hopefully you enjoyed the sounds. For Ferrari Man 601 saying thanks, and of course, we will see you soon.